June was a month, and I did do some reading, so let's talk about it. Hey everyone, welcome back to Andrew's Wizard of the Reads, and as always guys, I am Andrew, and today guys, we are wrapping up June of 2023, but before we get into that, please do me a favor and like this video and subscribe to the channel, as it does help the channel grow, and you can check the description box down below for all of my various links that you can peruse, links to my Patreon, links to the Wizardly Duo Discord if you want to chat books, pretty much on the daily, links to my Pango books if you want to pick up books that I've removed from my shelves, and links to my other social media, you know, Instagram and Goodreads and Twitter and all that nonsense. But without any really further ado, let's jump right on into this because it's been an interesting month. It did not go the way I wanted it to go, but I was still fairly productive. Essentially, I had two things happen that kind of threw everything just into question. I went down to Florida to see my grandfather because he turned 90 and, you know, he's 90 and he's wanting to kind of just get everything in order, let everybody knows where he's standing. So we went down for a final, or not for a final visit, hopefully, fingers crossed. But we went down for a visit, and that was fine. I didn't get really any reading done, but I did get a lot of family time, which was fantastic. And then about last week, my cat took a turn for the worse, and she got really, really sick. We didn't know if we were going to be able to save her. We did a last-ditch effort treatment, and that seems to have worked. We've now since learned that she has a heart condition, and so really is just making her comfortable right now. And just trying to give her the best life that we can possibly give her. So for those 4 or 5 days, very high tension. When there's a lot of tension, it's hard to get anything read. So yeah, I kind of just was all over the place. I reached for some mood reads this month, through some stuff that wasn't even bottom of my TBR, just got shot to the top of my TBR. Very interesting stuff. And on top of that, I'm doing my SPFBO stuff. Now, I know when I announced my allocation, I was like, I'm going to do book reviews for all of my allocations. Hindsight is 2020. I'm not going to be able to do that. I am probably going to be doing a dedicated book review for probably my top 2 of my SPFBO allocations. And then I am still not going to announce until, I think we're planning a live show on Team Bookborn to announce our semifinalists. But so far, I have sampled and tried out 2 of my allocations, and that is Price of Power by Michael Michelle and A Thing Immortal by Barry K. Gregory. 2 very different and very interesting books. I'm not going to really talk too much about them, just because I kind of want you to go out and check them out yourself. But this is essentially kind of an introspective, philosophized, very adult take on a Wild West that never was. There is a lot of sexual content in here. There's a lot of vulgarity, but also there's a lot of philosophizing and things of that. Very interesting. And then Price of Power, we've got this kind of fall from grace, wallowing in self-pity. This is a darker novel. And then I think it's just fighting back against adversity and analyzation of mental health. There's some fantasy drug use in this one, so it's very interesting. But yeah, I'm really enjoying my SPFBO journey so far. And now the books that I am going to talk about, I think I should start with the digital stuff. And I actually had to write it down here on this nifty little pad because I had so much digital stuff that I was going to forget something. So I did read Mother of Learning, Arc 3 by Dumagoy Kermayage, or Nobody 103. I loved this book. It was probably one of my favorites of the series so far. Zorian, Kaczynski, and everything, the whole group, the way the story is going, I'm so excited. I've got the final arc next month. This one was probably a 4.5 out of 5. I've just really enjoyed it. I think the entire series so far has been just each entry has been 4.5 out of 5. Not absolutely mind-blowing, but if you like progression fantasy with a nice time loop element, this series is for you. And then there's an additional twist in there that I just thought was really creative and a lot of fun. Next up, I then read The Servitor of Sin by Christopher G. Brenning, and I loved this. Essentially, this is my third outing with Christopher G. Brenning. This is the Hellborn King Saga. This is a prequel novella that comes out in July. I believe July 10th is when this drops. So make sure to get your pre-orders in and just read the Hellborn King Saga because it's amazing. I've done book reviews for book 1 and book 2, which you can find in the description box down below. I love this series. It's just great character-driven dark military fantasy with some very fascinating character arcs. But this is a prequel, and we kind of go back to an inciting incident that leads up to the Hellborn King Saga. And it was just great to get that perspective, to be there when those events happened. So I really enjoyed that. I definitely highly recommend checking it out. I also read the conclusion of Cradle. Now, I did a dedicated book review for this one. You can check it out right there. And this was amazing. I loved Waybound by Will White. It was the ending that I felt the fans deserved and wanted. It was the ending we were promised. Maybe not promised, but I mean, if you looked at all the indicators, this is where we were going, and we got there. And I absolutely enjoyed this series. It was very cathartic to get just such a rewarding ending with a lot of tension in there. Like, I was just constantly edge of my seat, couldn't put it down. I think I finished it in like 2 days. Fantastic stuff. I then received an arc for Down Below Beyond. This is the new T.A. Bruno set kind of in his collected universe. And I think this one's a standalone within that universe. Fantastic. I really enjoy this. I have a dedicated book review for this one coming out, I believe, July 7th. But man, that was such a fun experience. Very fast-paced. And it's kind of this thing of where you see 2 individuals who kind of grew up together go separate paths. And each one is fighting for something that they believe in. And like, one is right and one is wrong. And it's fascinating, and I loved it. And it was very funny, very creative. It's got a potted plant character. Like, a character who is, in fact, a potted plant. They don't speak. They don't emote. They're just a potted plant. And it's fascinating. It's fantastic, because it works for some reason. I then threw in, my boss recommended this to me, and I was just kind of in a bit of a funk with dealing with, like, my grandfather and the cat. And so I picked up The Mark of the Fool by, I think this is J.M. Clark. And this is a progression fantasy where essentially you've got some chosen ones. And, like, the chosen ones are like, oh, you get a really large mana base, and you get strength, and you get invulnerability, and stuff like that. And then there's something called The Mark of the Fool. And The Mark of the Fool is like the utility character. Like, he's the one who cooks, and he's the one who, like, reads the maps, and like he can master any skill. The mark allows him to like quickly master skills that are not magic or combat based. But this person, the main character, was on his way to magic school, and he's like, I'm not gonna let this get in my way. He goes to magic school anyway, and fantastic stuff just goes on from there. I think his name is Alex. I think the main character's name is Alex. I believe the 3rd book of this one comes out in July, and I'm probably gonna push Mage Errant. I know in my TBR I said I'm gonna read Mage Errant by John Bierce. I'll either push John Bierce's so that I can catch up on Mark of the Fool since it's fresher. It's been many months since I did John Bierce's Mage Errant, or I'll just read them both. I have them both on audio, so I might just end up doing both. But very fun, just a nice, rewarding progression fantasy series. And then I threw in from the bottom of my TBR all the way to the top because David Ragg reached out to me, and he was like, hey, you want an Arc of the Hunters? On Twitter, and I was like, yeah, absolutely, like, that'd be cool, because I watched an interview he did with Mark from Slowly Read, I think like a year and a half ago, and I was like really interested in the Articles of Faith series that he did, and it's a duology, and that's the Black Hawks and the Righteous. Now, I am currently 50% of the way through Black Hawks. I'll finish it probably today or tomorrow. It's the 27th at the time of recording, and yeah, I'm having a lot of fun. It's nothing mind-blowing, but it's such a solid experience. I'm just enjoying the ride, enjoying these characters, enjoying this mercenary group. It's adult, it's fast-paced, but it's really well executed. And frankly, if I have time, I'm going to try to fit in the Righteous as well. And then I am adding in the Hunter's arc onto my July TBR. So that's all the digital stuff that I'm currently reading or have read this month. So let's move into the physical stuff, which is a much shorter stack. I am currently, as I almost dropped my books, I'm currently 60% into Divinity's Twilight Remnant by Christopher Russell. This one will be like down to the wire finish this month, but I am far enough into this that I've just had such an amazing experience. I wish more people were reading Divinity's Twilight, because this series, like, if you like Sanderson, please check this out. Like, if you've just got a Sanderson itch, like, I know it's the year of Sanderson, but if you've got a Sanderson itch and you need something to fill that void, and you want something a little steampunky, but, like, you want it, I don't know, it's something so interesting and so good. Like, this should be much, 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 much bigger than it is. And these books are amazing. It's a junker, but it's well worth your time. The character growth that I'm getting throughout the series, and the thoughts and the ideas and the structure is all just masterfully executed. Christopher Russell should be 100 times bigger than he currently is in the fantasy sphere. So please, please check these books out. I promise you won't be disappointed. And if you are, I'm sorry. But no, I'm really, really, really enjoying those books. The next up, we've got Titan Hoppers by Rob J. Hayes, and this is another progression fantasy. You might be noticing a theme. This is Iro and Iroh. These are two characters that we're kind of following within this book. Basically, there is this civilization out in space. They are living off of something called a Titan, which is basically just this living machine that's got, like, plants and animals and vegetation and water, and, like, these fleets are following these Titans and scavenging off of them because they don't have their own natural resources, and those people are called Hoppers. And then their Titan gets destroyed, they are left adrift for 5 years, and then they find a new Titan, and things are just not quite the way that they used to be. I did this one on audio. I do have Spire Hoppers, and I enjoyed the audio experience enough that I want to do Spire Hoppers on audio as well. Sadly, the audio is not out yet. So Podium, please get on that. Get on that, because I know it is through Podium. I need book 2 so that I can continue the series, because even though I'm sure it's good enough to read physically, that audio experience was so good. I then read this because of my friend Madison Goodyear. She wanted me to read it as part of the Keymark readathon that we were a part of. She wanted me to read Duma Key. And asking me to read a Stephen King book is a no-brainer. I love Stephen King. I've read 30 plus Stephen King books at this point. And I really, really enjoyed Duma Key. And this one did something different that normally a King book doesn't do. King book usually starts out, either middling, like middle of the field, and then goes into the dark, or just kind of, I don't know, he's got a structure, and this one broke that structure, where we start out really low, like he's been in a construction accident, like he can't think straight, he's going through a divorce, he's lost a limb, and then we recover, and all of a sudden things are looking up, he's like an artist and things of that nature. It's very, very good. And then we throw in the horror ghost story hook, and it kind of takes another dip back down, and it's such a great character arc, story, analyzation, day in the life, dealing with PTSD, depression, things of that nature. I really, really enjoyed Duma Key. It's not a top King book for me, but it might be a top 10. I don't know. I might need to do a deep dive back into my Stephen King and do another tier list, because that one was really good, and I don't know quite where it would end up. And then finally, yesterday, I finished Battle Mage by Stephen Aryan, and this was Stephen Aryan's first book, and I was surprised by how self-contained this feels. There's another 2 books in this series, so I'm very interested to see. I think the second book is Blood Mage, to see what Blood Mage has in store for me. Very good. I ended up giving this one about 4 stars, or, a 7.5 to 8 out of 10. Very solid, very enjoyable, very fast-paced. It gets to the point. There's a lot of tragedy. There's a great analyzation of, because this is basically all about a war between 2 nations. We've got an immortal Mad King who is insane. And then we've got like a group of immortals. We've got a royal family who calls in their battle mages. The wizarding school or the mage school has since been defunct, so there's only a certain amount of truly trained mages. Not everybody wanted to be a mage. Like, this is not something that is seen as necessarily desirable. Like, it takes a certain personality to want these things. But we follow all these characters and all this conflict, and like we build up brotherhoods, and there's just so much in here that was really, really interesting and very well executed that I just really enjoyed seeing where Stephen Aryan came from. So I will be continuing this series next month with, I believe, Blood Mage is what it is. But yeah, it was a delight to finally read that book, because it's been on my shelf for going on like a year and a half to 2 years. Stephen was one of the first authors to ever send me his books. Not the first, but one of the first, and it's just now, like I'm just now getting to it, and I'm very glad that I finally did get to it. That is everything that I've read in July or am reading in July. Overall, I would give this probably a 4-star reading month. My book of the month is probably Waybound. There's a lot that I just cried happy tears when I finished Waybound. I'm so happy to have finally had that experience and concluded that series. I'm also sad about it, but if I have to choose a book of the month, it's probably Waybound, or it's Divinity's Twilight Remnant, because I'm having such a fantastic experience with it. But we're going to give it to Waybound just because it's the conclusion of a series, and it was really good. Let me know how your reading month was, and I think I am going to be moving to a mid-month wrap-up as well as a month wrap-up in the near future. Let me know if you think that's a good idea, or if that is something you would want to see. I might do a community post about it. I might not, but I don't have a problem rambling about what I've been reading halfway through the month. I do weekly reading wrap-ups. If you're more interested in that, I do those on the Patreon, so you can check that link in the description box down below if that's something you're interested in. And as always, guys, that's all I really got for you. So till next time, peace out, stay magical. Bye. And I want to give a huge special thank you to my top tier Wizard Master patrons. Thank you, Chris, Nico, Ryan, Sharon, Scott, Mike, Aaron, Leslie, Doug, Mendelin, Y-Stitch, Twainy, Spyro, Reading Rainbow, Sarah, and Chris, the Real Bookaholic. Thank you so much.